Hi, everyone. Welcome to HBR Quarantined. I'm Ignatius, Editor-in-Chief of Harvard Business Review, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Josh Macht, who heads Product and Innovation at Harvard Business Publishing. HBR Quarantine, this is our fourth episode. We decided to set it up to, to connect with the millions of our fans and followers who are working from home and who are trying to figure out how long is that going to last? What is the world going to look like as we start to emerge from lockdown? We're really pleased with the response that we've had to the show. We know a lot of people RSVP'd for this. That sounds very fancy. I have to say we don't have canapes or anything that is sort of due to you, but thank you for RSVPing. Thank you for being here. Our guest today, who I will introduce formally in a second, is Bozoma Saint John, who is the CMO of Endeavor, and who is an expert on how to kind of build and rebuild and reinvent your personality, your brand, whether as an individual or as a company. And I think it's an important thing for right now. But before we introduce her, I just want to talk a little bit about this phenomenon. I mean, more and more companies that had been closed are talking about opening up. The conversations I have with colleagues continue to go along the lines of people saying they're dying to get back in the office. And when I say, yeah, but you may be wearing a mask in the office, people are saying, I'm dying not to get back in the office. So
yeah, right.
it's complicated. I don't know, Josh, what are you thinking these days?
I don't know. It's interesting. I think we're all having some fatigue here for sure. There's no question.
Yeah,
I went out.
I'm having ennui, I think.
Ennui, right. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but you'll tell me later. You're good with that. But I just feel like doing simple things. Like I went to get a slice of pizza at a place, and felt pretty good about it, but also at the same time a little uncomfortable. There were people congregating. I didn't want to be anywhere near that. And you just start to realize as we get out, like you've got this impulse of, I want to get back out, but at the same time, you want to be safe. You want to be vigilant. You don't want to let your guard down. It's really weird. It's like a weird feeling, don't you think?
I do. I mean, I'm wondering more and more, what is the purpose of an office? I mean, I used to think the purpose of an office was it was a place that you could leave to get home. Now I'm starting to think it's actually a place that you want to leave home for. I mean, I do miss the kind of,
Yeah,
the casual interaction, the sort of
right.
nurturing, you didn't really think about it. I miss the commute. I think I said that last week. Those
Yeah.
transition moments that tell you it's not
Mhm.
just Groundhog Day, that that we're going from one reality to another. They're helpful moments.
No, I know. I mean, the New York Times has a piece that, we all make fun of the office, but yet there's a camaraderie and there's something that comes with it. I miss those moments right after the meeting. And I know that like from Veep, they have those funny segments of like, did I miss the meeting about the meeting and all those jokes? But there are like little moments, right? Where you huddle, where you meet with people, you walk down the hall, you make sense of things. And in this new reality, it's just like a thud. You stop the meeting, you're kind of by yourself, like, okay, you know, click on the next meeting. And therein is the fatigue, therein is the monotony. And but again, like, what are you willing to risk to get back to the office?
Yeah, well, I think more and more people are willing to risk. There's an understanding that
Yeah,
we can't be risk-free. Look, I mean, there was I don't know if you saw it, the stock market shot up this morning because a Boston company, Moderna, said
yeah.
it had positive early, it's phase one, small number of people, but pretty good early results in a vaccine trial. It adds up to nothing necessarily, but we'll get there eventually. But there's going to be a
Little,
long time before then where we're going to have to accept risk as part of our lives.
yeah, absolutely. Those things are little doses of hope. Sorry if you hear lawnmowers in the background here.
Now that's the reality nowadays. Okay, so um, before I reintroduce Bozoma, I want to just say a quick note, how you can support HBR in the show. If you like the show, if you like the coverage that we've been doing on COVID-19 and its fallout, be sure to check out hbr.org for more content and consider subscribing. You could find all the details there. This, of course, would be a great opportunity for a sponsor to put in a message. So, Josh,
Yeah,
I don't
that
know if
was
you have a fake
no, that
sponsor
was
message.
our slot for an advertiser. So we just talked about ourselves. Go to hbr.org, subscribe. But if you want, you can advertise, and then we wouldn't have to do this right now. You could be in this spot.
All right, so before we go to Bozoma St. John's, who's, as I said, is an expert on sort of reinvention, our TikTok team created a video that we think coincidentally is sort of relevant to the theme. So, Engineer Dave, if you can roll that TikTok. Just no questions, it's TikTok. It's my pleasure now to introduce the amazing Bozoma St. John. As I said, she's CMO of Endeavor and an expert on how to build and reinvent your brand and your purpose. She was formerly Chief Brand Officer at Uber. She was head of global consumer marketing at Apple Music and iTunes, head of music and entertainment at PepsiCo. She has an amazing Instagram feed, and you're seeing some of that in the background. BuzzFeed once called her the coolest person to ever go on stage at an Apple event, which is a low bar, but still, Bozoma, we're really glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Adi and Josh. That's hysterical. It is quite a low bar, but you know what? I wear that mantle proudly. I would put it on my bio, but it didn't fit. So, I'll consider how to shorten it later.
We're happy to be your show. And so, I want to ask you, where are you now and how we've been working from home for 10 weeks. What has your life been like these last 10 weeks working from home?
Yeah, I mean, I read a quote recently that, just hit home for me. It was about the fact that, we are not all in the same boat, but we are all in the same storm, right? So while I may have different circumstances, or while we might all have different circumstances, we're all sort of facing the same challenges, same issues, same anxiety, same fear, all those things. So yeah, where I am physically, I'm in LA, in my home where I am quarantined with my daughter, who is almost 11 in 2 weeks, and my mother. And it is the first time I have lived with my mother since I was 18 years old. And to have the 3 generations here in the same house, whoo, it's been quite a learning. And emotionally, where I am, and I guess psychologically, has changed a bit over 10 weeks. It vacillates between feeling very motivated and feeling like, this is the time to do anything and everything, to feelings of despair, feeling like, gosh, well, things will never be the same again. What in the hell am I doing right now? And what's the point? And everything else in between. So yeah, quite a philosophical, where are you?
How do you deal with the sinking moments? I mean, that's what I find is little, like, because you're really quite an inspiration, and I follow you on Instagram and everything. And I wonder, like, how do you pick yourself up?
Yeah. Well, Josh, this is the thing is that because none of us have ever dealt with this before, I am also learning how to motivate myself. And that some of my old tricks don't work.
Right.
I used to have a pretty dynamic schedule, meaning that I was on the move constantly, so there was no time to sort of wallow and wonder, well, how am I going to get X, Y, and Z thing done? They say it's like, if you want something done, give it to the busiest person, right? And that's what my life was. It was just a constant movement. And so therefore, if I needed to get something done, I would just figure out how to get it done in the schedule. And I wouldn't even worry about it. It would just be get it done. And these days, because it feels like time is infinite, it feels like, oh, I have so many hours that I find it difficult to get even some of the small things done. The projects that maybe you had at the house that you wanted to get done. And you're like, oh, now I'm going to build that bookcase. Well, guess what? The pieces are still sitting over there. I still haven't touched it. And so I'm finding that I've had to redo my schedule. And to me, that is actually what gives me motivation, the times to actually get things done. And if I can live by that, I find that I'm more productive. So it means that I am waking up at a particular time of the day. I am working out. I am then going into my meetings. I have my time to eat. I have my time to get up and move around. I have a time to sit back down to the meeting. I have a time to have lunch. I have my times set. That way it is much easier for me to stay sort of moving and going versus just endless hours that seem to run into each other.
So before I ask the next question, I want to encourage all our viewers, please ask your own questions of Bozoma, put them into the comment box, and we'll try to get to some of those later. Bozoma, the phrase that's always associated with your name, I think it's the moniker you pick yourself, is badass. Bozoma Badass. You've been talking about a show called Bozoma Being Badass. I want to be badass. Give me some advice on how to be badass like Bozoma.
You are, man. You are.
No, that's very kind.
Just like
I want to
in
be more badass.
But like in a weird way. But okay, let's hear from the expert.
I mean,
good
I
way.
think you have a badass environment right now. I mean, what I can see, I like the badass design that you've got going on in your environment. So I'm thinking
This is 18th century
you're
badass.
I mean, pretty dope. Pretty dope.
Okay.
But you know what's so funny is that when I picked badass, yes, self-described, I didn't do it because I thought that, you know, it would turn into something that, you know, would sort of follow me around. It was kind of like just a good time. I just felt like everything that I was doing was on a level that I, you know, felt that I felt like a superhero. You know, and superheroes to me are badasses. They're the ones who aren't afraid to go into, you know, meet the bad guy, you know, or run into the burning building or save the planet. And sometimes it felt like that's what I was doing. And I definitely had the vision in my mind that it looked like, you know, the comic book strip, you know, where it says badass written, you know, with like the lightning bolt. And that's what it feels like to me. So, you know, you can be badass in just being exactly who you are. I think that's actually the funniest thing is that, you know, we think that it means taking on the mantle of something much bigger. But I used to have in my, you know, social media bios that there's nothing more badass than being yourself. And it is probably the hardest thing to do. And perhaps sometimes the most frightening thing is being 100%
Let me just
yourself.
follow up quickly on that, because I sort of sum up your philosophy, what I can glean from your social media presence is sort of do your own thing, you know, and be true to yourself. And at a certain level, that seems tougher now when, to cope with a pandemic, we're thinking more about the general good, about, you know, tamping down our own selfish desires, I guess. So I guess, how do you reconcile the ego versus collective pull at the moment?
Wow. That is a really, really tough question. Because I really do believe
It's a
in the
badass
power.
question. Just
That it is. It is a badass question. Because I believe so firmly and so wholly in the power of one. You know, it is part of the reason why, you know, I say bring your whole self. You know, I don't say bring the whole community. You know, it's bring your whole self. Because we have such a problem, I think a real problem in our collective society with bringing ourselves, with actually, you know, living our truest self. And until we do that, we actually can't influence and do anything about the greater good. You know, we can't serve the greater good. In fact, at this particular time, it's the most important time to make sure that we are focused on self. You know, maybe that's contrary to popular belief, but you know, if you are not well, if you aren't at your best, you know, if you're not coping with the things that are causing you either anxiety or depression or any of the other ills, then how can you be good for your family or good for your community? You know, you can't. It's almost impossible. And so right now, while it might feel selfish, you know, it's actually really important that we sit and work on what is in here before we consider doing something for the greater good. Of course, all of us want to be the hero, right? Champion for the society and, you know, do something great for those who are serving or any of the other things, which, by the way, all wonderful things. But I implore you not to do it, not to do any of those things unless you feel whole within yourself. Because otherwise we'll have a disaster on our hands with a lot of halfway well people who are trying to do something good and then end up actually crashing the entire society.
No, that's a really good point. I mean, and it also gets at the, you know, the notion of bringing your authentic self to work and bringing, you know, and I like what you're saying, sort of be your whole true self, bring that out to the world. That's a big message for you. At the same time, you're also someone who's, gone through reinvention, and you work with people who have. Can you help us to square the two of reinvention with being true to yourself? How do you bring
Yes.
those two together?
I mean, you know what? You're some badass interviewers. Okay, let's just say that, because these questions are like pow pow. It's like it's so good. Wow. Yes,
You're a
that is.
badass flatterer.
Yeah.
Which totally works.
It works on me.
I'm like, good. Let's keep going. um, it's such a, gosh, that's such a deep question about how to square up the true and authentic self with reinvention. But really, the connective tissue between the two is about evolution, and allowing of evolution. We should evolve, we should get better, we should change. I think that's actually I was looking through my, I was supposed to be going to my 25th high school reunion this year. And I was looking through my high school yearbook, and, people write, the messages like never change and all that, which is ridiculous because we should always be in a state of change, and so the idea of bringing your full self or your whole authentic self is even within that evolution. And so not pretending to be somewhere where you aren't, or be someone who you aren't. If you've not evolved into that higher being that you aspire to, it is okay. We're all on the journey, but it's okay then to reach a certain marker and be that person, and then evolve some more and be that next person. Just always being conscious of presenting whatever state it is that you're in, fully and wholly, and not pretending. I think that's just it. It's the lack of pretense to me that I am trying to shake off. That mask that we put on, whether it's in the office or with a friend or at church or at your daughter's school or wherever else. It's like we wear this mask all the time to present something that is actually not true. When if we didn't do that, we'd actually find more empathy in the world. We'd be able to connect better with each other, because we would realize that, well, sometimes we are all truly more the same than we are different, although that sounds so corny. But also, I think that we would find that we have so many shared experiences. And it's something I learned when I was like 12, to not put that mask on, and to be able to share what I am and who I am quite freely without apology. And it worked then. So why in the hell would I change it now?
So far, so good. All right, I'm gonna go to a question from one of our viewers. So this is Tahir from Dubai, and this is really a question relevant to this moment, which is, how do you build your brand while we're all being held back during this crisis? How do you get the message out? How do you build a brand in this kind of clutter of pandemic?
That's also a really good question, because right now, like I said it at the beginning, is a great time to go inward. That reevaluating who you are, what you stand for, what your values are, what you want in the future, what you want right now. What is the journey that you want to be on is so important. I find that many people miss that step. They go directly to, how do I create a brand, and forget that if you don't know what the brand is, there's no way to actually communicate it. So really understanding who you are and what you stand for, that is unique and different from everybody else. And that requires, like I said, the true identity, really going in and understanding who it is that you are. And by the way, have you been presenting someone different in the world? Have you been presenting a masked version of yourself? Well, I guess these days masks are in vogue, but, are you presenting someone or something that is not true? And if that is the case, spend the time now, going in and making sure that you actually understand who you are, that, you can't be all things to all people. So who is it? What purpose do you serve? What are your likes and dislikes? What are your value systems? And it can't be the high, hoity-toity thing. It can't be that. Like, disregard that thing. Yes, you want to save the world. Okay, that's fantastic. We all do. But that's too broad. Like, we need to get down to the smaller things, and then begin to actually behave that way. And behavior is not just what you're walking around with in the world. Behavior is not because you went to a certain event or you spoke at a conference. Behavior is in the conversations you have with your family and friends. Behavior is how you present yourself on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook. Behavior is in the acts then you take on, and perhaps the plan that you create for when you can move in the world. So to me, the brand building are the deep questions that I ask of not just, inanimate brands, but of people brands too. It's like, first it's like, who are you? Really, who are you? What do you stand for? What are your value systems? What do you not like? Who do you not like? all of those answers are really important. Yeah, to narrowing down and understanding your own self.
Can I do it, Josh, if I can interrupt just to do a quick follow-up. So this is a question from Paul from Kirkcaldy, United Kingdom, that builds on that. So if you're looking to change career path, would you advise one to wait for the new normal to sort of establish itself and even out? Or would you advise to kind of forge a path now before we even know what the new normal is going to be?
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you, Paul from Kirkcaldy.
Yeah, like that question. Because another one of my monikers is to live urgently. I am not patient, and I am not a person who tells other people to wait. And so, Paul, don't wait. Do it right now. Because the truth of the matter is that it's kind of like the advice I was giving about brand development and understanding self, which is that if you want to change careers, are you doing any work in the career that you want to go into? Are there ways for you to dip your toe in the water of the new career? Are there ways to start to do that work right now in the safety of our slowed world, where there are no real pressures before you jump in fully? If there are questions, if you have questions about moving in that direction, I would begin sort of with the small steps. Like we were saying, right now it feels like there's infinite time, but are there really 2 hours in the day when you're not doing your current job or your current career to dedicate to the new one, or to the new job? If you don't have the new job and you haven't secured it yet, and this is a question about actually leaving your job to go to the next one, perhaps financially you're not able to do that, or maybe the jobs aren't open yet. But are there ways to get informationals and even volunteer your time? I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I don't know that there are very many companies who would turn down volunteer employees right now. And so if you have a few hours and you want to stick, get your path into that new career, and you don't want to leave your current job, yes, of course, do the work of your current job. Please keep your current job if you can't leave it right now. But absolutely find ways to insert yourself into the new industry or the new company that you want to be in. They will take volunteer employees for sure.
We ran a piece, actually the most read piece on HBR yesterday was something we brought back by Peter Bregman that we published a few years ago called Practice Being Your Future Self. And his argument was, you have to let the present just sit there untended, meaning don't do the drudge work, don't answer all those emails, don't think, all right, I'm going to finish all my work and then I'm going to think about recreating myself into the person I really want to be. That you just have to be, as he said, irresponsible with the current challenges to really make progress to figure out the future you.
Yes, I do agree with that. And that it is time to take some risk. Now, of course, measured risk, as I said, it's like there are ways right now, the luxury we have right now that we didn't have before, which is in straddling two worlds, that yes, we all have time to dedicate it. Like I said, if you have a job now, you're in a career now, we have time to dedicate, towards that job. And it's not 12 hours a day for most of us, even if it's 8 hours a day. And as you were saying in your intro, you sort of miss the casual movement, casual interactions, the commute and all those things. That's time back that we have. And so can you schedule within your day time then to dedicate towards the new career or the new idea, that future self that you want to be? And I think that it's perfect. Like I said, I think any company at this point would be more than happy to have employees who volunteer their time.
So can we shift for a second to your industry of sports and entertainment? Because it feels like, I mean, talk about reinvention, or at least finding its way without people wanting to congregate. That's such a big part of that. I know personally, I'm sort of yearning for any sports to come back. I'm watching The Last Dance as if these basketball games were happening now, because I know. Yeah, right. I just crave it.
Same.
Oh, we got.
It's well timed. It's incredibly well done. Fun to watch. But if people aren't going to feel comfortable congregating, what's that going to mean for sports and entertainment going forward?
Yeah, well, I think like all things, it will make its way back, just in it's a different way. I don't believe that our congregating masses are over forever. That we will find a way to get back together. So we have to figure out right now how to manage that, of course, safely. And that's what every entertainment platform is trying to do, especially live entertainment. It's like, how do you do that? Can we gather people safely? Are there innovative ways to do that? And I've said it a million times to my team over the last 10 weeks that, this is probably the greatest marketing test of all time. That if we have to innovate, and by the way, it's not just innovate and sort of test it, but innovate and go. Like, it's innovation and live immediately. There is no test. And so we're going to either really win or really fail. There's almost no gray, And so I think that at this very moment in time, because of the desire of our audiences to get back together safely or to just be in the moment, we have to figure that out. That's our responsibility now, to innovate in that space. And you're right. It's, I watched The Last Dance, last night's episodes, and I was sitting, so there was one moment where I was clutching the couch, so hard. It was like my knuckles were hurting. And I know how it ended.
I know, we know that. I know.
Like, I know how this
It's all
ends.
we've got.
I know, but I still felt that same thing, that same like, oh, make that basket,
Yeah.
It's like you feel that, and so that intense yearning is not going away. Our audiences want to see sports, they want to see entertainment, they want to see concerts, all these things that were such beautiful experiences for us, live experiences. We're going to get those back. We just need to innovate how they are going to now be, at least for the future, for the short-term future.
So building on that, and Bozoma, you have a well-earned reputation as a trend spotter. We have a segment on every show which is called Here Today or Here to Stay. So I'm going to throw out a few things like that, and I'd love to get your view and Josh's view as to whether these are just temporary phenomena or whether we fundamentally changed how we do things. So let's start with, germophobia. So things will get better. Here's Engineer Dave this is a real product, by the way. Who knows? We may all be wearing within a year. But even if there's a vaccine, even when things get normal, should we be germaphobes, not touch door handles? Not.
I did tell Lottie that I felt as a germaphobe, and somebody already said this, but I did feel like people have caught up. So I feel like let's not lose ground now. We're doing so well. On the other hand, it does concern me a little bit that we're maybe not being exposed to any germs. That might be odd.
Exactly. That's actually bad for us. We do need to be exposed to some germs. No, but I think some of it is here to stay. I mean, I'm going to take a little bit of the middle road because, like all things, there's the curve. There are people who are going to continue to be extreme, regardless if they're germaphobes or not, who've taken on new behaviors. And a friend, I'm going to name drop here, Naomi Campbell, was seen as, crazy a couple of years ago I think she had a video that went viral because she was like cleaning every inch of like her airplane seat, like she was intricately cleaning. And then it became, the like how-to video for how to protect yourself. I remember middle of March, it was like people were searching Naomi Campbell's video to figure out how to clean their plane seats. And then I saw she was on the move last week and she had like full hazmat suit on, And so while she may be a little bit on the extreme side of things, I do think that we are going to take on more sort of, care in how we expose ourselves to different germs. I don't think I personally, again, I love a focus group of one. I like to look at myself and see how I'm changing my behavior before I predict out in the world, because that's the best, that's the best test. It really is. And that my views have changed. Like I said, I live in LA, and last 2 weekends ago, there was an effect in the ocean, right, where there was like the luminescent waves. And so, very late at night, you could watch the ocean waves, and they turn like this iridescent, sort of neon blue color. And what a beautiful phenomenon. So I wanted to go out and see it, put on my mask, drove out to the beach. You can't go on the beach, but I just planned to just park on the side and, look at it, take a few minutes, look at it. And there were people out there. And I absolutely thought 3 times, maybe 4 times, if I should get out of my car, and people were at safe distances. And so to think that we are going to just naturally go back. And by the way, before that, I hadn't considered that I was at all, any more, concerned than any normal person, So I think that these behaviors are ones that we are absolutely going to take into the future. Now, you're still going to have, the people out there who are like, I'm, invincible, and they will lick door handles and do other crazy things, but for the most part, we're going to be that much more conscious of washing our hands and, wearing masks and, making sure that things are clean before we touch them.
We're all catching up to Naomi Campbell, and if I can name drop, Josh Macht.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
But
I'm not happy to be in the company with Naomi Campbell, but it's also, Bozoma, it's also a lot of the uncertainty that's underneath it, right? Because I've had the same reactions when I've seen groups. You're sort of like, I don't really know. Like, do I want to be? Because I don't really know what exactly the rules are, and I feel like that uncertainty underneath the questioning, that gets, I don't know, that gets hard and annoying after a while.
Yeah, it does. But this is also about conditioning, and so just think about the fact that for the last 10 weeks, we've been conditioned, told again and again and again how dangerous the world is, how dangerous people are, how dangerous being within 6 feet of somebody is, how dangerous somebody else's cough or breath is, hell, how dangerous your own cough is. Have you like had a little sniffle or a cough and just looked at yourself and like, oh my God, am I okay? You can't trust yourself these days.
Right.
And so there are behaviors that we're conditioned, and it's amazing how quickly we adapt to those new conditions.
Totally.
And so I believe that once we, as a whole, understand that we are in a safer environment, there will be actually a reconditioning to be in spaces together. Now, again, there's going to be some innovation in that. And yes, there'll be some lingering effects, but I don't believe it's here to stay forever.
Okay.
I think I kind of agree with you. I remember after 9/11, there was a feeling that this changes everything. And while it was momentous and changed the world for an extended period of time, beyond the fact that there's heightened security in various places, I feel like society reemerged in ways that we would not have thought in the days and weeks immediately after 9/11. That once we can, we will get back to the way we are, the behaviors that we prefer, the ways of interacting that we prefer.
Yeah, I agree.
What about the fashionable masks?
Well, those have to stay. They just look so good.
Only in pictures of those. There we go.
Jeez, man. Yeah, I think those are for today. I think those are for today. I don't think those stay. We all like. I think what we miss, like the cues. You can take it from childhood or like babies, right? It's like if you are looking at a 3-month-old and you are smiling at that baby, the baby smiles back at you, right? Or you frown, they frown at you. These are all we need those cues as human beings to connect with each other. And so without them, it makes it very difficult to communicate. So I don't think that we'll last very long by covering a majority of our face and not being able to express. And unlike, like we just keep going back to models, who can smize with their mouth closed and you can see the smile in their eyes. Most of us can't do that. We're not that talented. So we're going to need to see the smiles or the frowns.
Okay, I agree with that.
So Boz, let me, I'm going to throw one more question your way and let you take us out. Really, a number of questions have come in from all over the world that are really, okay, how do I reinvent myself? how do I improve myself when I'm overcoming sort of basic fears and doubts? Somebody else said, how do you provide your daughter with optimism for the future? It's all coming from the same place, that yes, 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 I love the message, but this is hard. So maybe you can go out, give people some hopeful advice on how they can achieve that reinvention that they seem to want to do, but that they can see is hard.
Yes. Oh, that is also a great one to go out on. Because I saw early on there was this meme or some direction out there which said that if you don't come out of this quarantine with the new business or learned a new language or some sort of new skill, you never lacked time, you just lacked discipline. And I clutched my pearls. If I wore pearls, I clutched them, and I was like, oh my god, like that is so harsh. That is, what kind of pressure is that? That's terrible advice. Because the truth of the matter is that this is, again, related to your whole self, and whole as in, not being fractured or broken. It's like how to bring yourself to wholeness. And without that, we cannot start new businesses. We cannot learn new languages. We cannot get new skills and acquire them. And so we have to concentrate on making sure that we feel good. And so if you don't feel good, we need to concentrate on that. There is no creation, there is no rebranding, there is no development without making sure that you're stable. And so I implore people to make sure that they feel good in whatever way that is. And essentially, it's what I tell my daughter too. In addition to that, I have embraced my imperfections. Badasses can be imperfect too. Badasses aren't always great at everything. And I have learned that I'm not a great fifth grade teacher. Like it's a disaster. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at the math. It's very difficult for me. And I have begun to forgive myself for those imperfections and be honest with my daughter about those too. And so she's then allowed not to be perfect too. And for me, that is actually the best case of optimism, not getting so down on yourself, beating yourself up for not having, the motivation to run 100K. It's like, that's okay. It's like, what are you going to do? If you don't feel the oomph to get up, then I want you to rather worry and think about, like, how do I actually build that? What is the source of that feeling? And let's fix that versus pushing through to get to that 100K, because the push creates pain, and pain is a sign of danger, right? For all of us, whether that's mentally or physically. And so if you feel that you have to push through something that is not healthy, it's like this idea that, it's back to the sports, conversation. It's like, if you ever played sports and you hurt yourself, right? It was like, oh, just walk it out. It's like, just walk around a little bit, you'll feel better. That is not true. That's not good. You're going to re-injure yourself. You're going to make the injury worse. And so in this very time, if you find that it is difficult to push through, then it is rather necessary to go in and understand what is preventing you from having that motivation, what is preventing you from feeling optimistic, and work on that versus just pushing through.
All right, Bozoma, that was amazing. Josh, do you want to
Sure.
take it out?
Thank you so much, Bozoma. That really was. I think just even that last message of forgiving ourselves for our imperfections, especially right now, that is a great message, and you are definitely an inspiration and have been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's really been a lot of fun. I also just want to tell everyone that next week it's Memorial Day, which is crazy. So we will be here on Tuesday. So don't show up on Monday. Enjoy your Memorial Day. We will be here with Samantha Power, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning author and former United States ambassador to the United States. She'll be talking to us about how the crisis is reshaping global relations and whether closed borders are here to stay. This is also the place where, again, we're going to promote ourselves and remind you, if you like what you've seen and you've enjoyed this over the last few weeks, please go to hbr.org. If you want to subscribe, that's even better. You can figure it all out there when you get to the website. And I want to thank everyone who helps to make this show happen. Scott LaPierre, our senior producer, Dave DiIulio, our broadcast director, Karen Player, Rico Cribs Design, Kelsey Gribbenstraw, and Emily Gullison for audience engagement, our co-producers Andy Robinson, Ely Honan, and Dustin Brady, as well as our amazing researcher Julia Butler, and our theme song from Oliver Ignatius at Holy Fang Studios. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. We enjoyed having you. We enjoyed having our guests, and we're wishing you all a great week.
So yeah, Josh, you were badass, but I was like superhero badass.
You were crazy badass. Good job.
And Dave, that was some amazing, and Scott, amazing badass.
You got an amazing guest. It was easy.
Is she fantastic or
Is
what?
she incredible?
I want her to be my life coach.
I know, right?
Watch and rewatch that
Like
show over and over
or
again.
something.
And fabulous and badass.
Yeah, she really is amazing.
Love
So that
it.
was fun.
That was a blast. That
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah, that was really, really fun. Except for there was a period of time where my mic went dead or something went dead.
That was smooth. I didn't realize. Were you panicking back there?
I was, yeah, a tiny bit. I couldn't hear anything. I was ready for you to say something to me, and then I was going to be like, yeah, I can't hear a word. And
So I didn't realize. So luckily is when I chose to just dominate and ask 3 straight questions.
it might have been, but do you not look at, you don't look at the chat? Do you know about chat?
I do, but I have a second screen with all my questions coming in from people all over the world. So I didn't see our chat. We got lucky this time.
Well, it was nice of her assistant, at least said, we said, great show, which is really nice. She said, I can still hear. So I got some feedback. But then something popped up and said, the new amazing product here that I'm supposed to be using, I think that I unplugged it. I went off it, and then it was fine.
You got a Bluetooth right back.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So I think
technology, man.
I guess so. That was good with all the good shots too, Dave. Good, nice work.
Yeah. There was this one, there was a lot to sink our teeth.
How's
Yeah.
A lot of people want to know how traffic on the Mass Pike is.
Yeah, let's go to traffic on the 9s. We're on the 1242s.
There we go.
And it still does not look like a recovering economy.
No, that looks like a Sunday afternoon, maybe.
Yeah, a little sad.
Oof.
All right, we got a ways to go.
Wow.
Hey.
All right. Well, if anyone's still listening, you should probably go away now, and we should probably hang out.
We should too, though.
Yeah, we should.
We're probably at our real goodbye.
Okay,
Yes,
real
remember
goodbye,
that.
everybody.
All right, you guys have a good one. See you next week.
Good.
Long. Nice work.